I see that. I see you, bro. You got that dragon in you. You know what I'm saying? Like Hunter not being able to finish that race meant that Hayden Deegan got out of the woodwork with the speed that nobody'd ever seen. The guy was just banging him out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Tom Vial looks back. There's Hampshire. Tom Vial looks back. No Hampshire. Tom Vial looks back. There's Hampshire. And it's like this accordion rubber banding effect throughout that entire bit of the moto where Hampshire was coming and then he was going. See, I told y'all. Tom Vial about to show y'all something. Now, I'm tell you guys, Southwick was a blast to watch, okay? Southwick had a lot of action in it. You know, Southwick's probably one of my favorite races so far this year. It's brutal as that track ended up being. You know, they heard that John Dowd actually put more bumps in the track because the weather was a little bit different than normal. Like they wanted that old school feel to it. It was beating the brakes off these guys. But nonetheless, you know, that first 250 moto was insane. You know, crap we didn't expect. You know, Tom Vial's been moving up. He's been looking a lot better. He's been proving himself in the second moto, but he came out here at Southwick and he most definitely put his foot down and said, no, sir, we ain't playing no games today. And then, you know, I hate to say it, poor Hunter Lawrence and Hayden Deegan just didn't do it at Southwick, man. They didn't bring the heat like Tom Vial, Joe Shimoda, Justin Cooper, Hampshire. And Hampshire, that boy's a dog, man. He don't let up, bro. He found a bone, he gonna chase it down now. Second moto was just as intense as the first moto. I'm telling you guys. We did have some standouts though. You know, Seth Hammaker was looking pretty daggone solid. You know, Levi Kitchen didn't have the best of days, but I'm gonna tell you guys, Tom Vial put in an absolute show, pushing for the lead, taking the lead, maintaining the lead, just chilling and riding his race up there. You know, Hunter Lawrence's bike just went kablooey, which is wild. I mean, you don't see engine blowups and engine malfunctions that often, especially on that tier, right? You might see it on the privateers bikes, you might see it on some of the smaller cruise bikes, but it's very, very uncommon that you see that type of stuff happen, you know, with your front runners, your championship leaders, you know. But there you go. Everybody can have good luck and bad luck. You never know how it's gonna land. It's gonna be what it's gonna be at the end of the day. But let's get on this topic of Tom Vial, man. Let's get on this topic of Tom Vial. Marvin Muscan has been working with Tom. You know, they're both from France. They're the Frenchmen, you know what I mean? And Marvin Muscan's been working with Tom Vial quite a bit. And you know, they interviewed Marvin Muscan while, you know, Tom Vial was racing in that second moto. And, you know, it just sounds like to me what I've kind of been saying is the more Tom Vial gets comfortable, I mean, you know, with these tracks, he is a two-time, you know, MXGP guy. He's a world champion. He's done it twice. He can win, you know what I mean? And I know this podium and I know this overall was super big to him because like it's just like this sport, it has a lot to do with confidence. And one thing that really stood out is Tom Vial doesn't play with his bike. He doesn't make adjustments every racetrack. He doesn't change something every single race. He kind of takes the bike as is. He gets it the way he likes it, and then he learns that bike the way it is, and he goes and races these races. I don't know if that's a strength or a weakness. I do find it kind of interesting that he does that because I know a lot of people kind of move things around to make sure, you know, they're as most comfortable as they are. But the way I guess tracks evolve and the way Tom Vial really thinks about racing and riding, that's something he did, which I mean, like, it's cool. I like the idea of that. It makes sense at the same time. So I dig that. I dig it. But let's talk about what happened to Hayden, man. Now, you know, as soon as Hunter's bike blew up, about that same time, Hayden crashed in one of those big old berms. You know, he got back on the bike, he's good to go. But Hayden was out. I mean, Hayden was in a good spot, and Hunter was out. Hunter not being able to finish that race meant that Hayden Deegan got points. Hayden Deegan wasn't far behind. Hayden Deegan got points. The kid got points. The kid is killer right now, okay? The kid is on a mission. The kid has made it clear that he's on a mission and he's pumped. You know what I'm saying? Like he's hungry for the dubs. He's hungry to get those wins. I like the kid, man. I like the kid's energy. You know, I like what he's bringing to the table. And you know, there are riders that are just proving that consistency is key. Consistency is key. Consistency is key. Like as long as you can just show up, be pretty darn consistent, and salvage as many points as you can every single weekend, it can put you in a position because you never know what's gonna happen. Last year we watched, or last season we watched it in Supercross. Eli Tomac, all of a sudden, just boom, he's out, which means that Chase Sexton, who had been there consistently, been there, got him a championship in Supercross. So Hayden's playing the same long game, and the bad luck that Hunter's really experienced over the last two races. He had the crash where we thought he was a little busted up, and then the bike explodes, overheats, and it just the engine goes kaput. It's just some things that have lost him loads of points that have allowed this 250 field to kind of catch up and close that gap in on. Not to say that Hunter may not still win it out by the end of the season, but geez Louise, man, like talk about getting a little nervous when it comes down to the championship. He's been proving himself, and then the bad luck kind of kicks. Whereas Hayden's just been doing his thing. Hayden's been riding his ride. He's been pushing himself, a little bit there. And you can tell, like, I noticed this in second motos. Now Tom Vial's done this and Hayden Deegan's done this. Joe Shimoda was on fire. Okay? Joe Shimoda was on fire. Moto 2. All right? Dude was looking the best he's ever looked. And let me just pause real quick, because Levi Kitchen, Joe Shimoda, and probably a handful of other riders are guys that I love to see those guys riding good, okay? But those guys don't bring it every single weekend, and I don't know if it's a mental game for them or if it's the track setup or maybe they just aren't comfortable. I don't know what it is. But if they would bring that intensity like they do, in that second moto every weekend, I think this series would have been even more intense. Anybody can win. Anybody can win right now, but it's kind of like, damn it, Joe, be consistent. I see that. I see you, bro. You got that dragon in you. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can do the damn thing. And last weekend we saw Levi Kitchen come out of the woodwork with the speed that nobody had ever seen. The guy was just banging him out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's great. It's great. It's kind of what we want to see, and we don't get to see that as consistent as we want. And now, look, we know RJ Hampshire gonna do what RJ Hampshire do. All right. But it is always, he's another one of those riders, dude, when I want to see him up front, because I know that kid will fight to the end. He'll give every bit he's got, but I don't know if it's the jitters off the gate. I don't know what happens to him. He always gets a bad start, it seems, and then next thing you know, he's working up through the field, and then RJ Hampshire does RJ Hampshire's stuff. He gets excited. They talked about him being a little more patient, and I think that is one of the things that kid needs to do the most, is be a little more patient. If you watch Chase Sexton ride, and if you watch Jet Lawrence ride last year in Supercross, you be patient, and the race will kind of come to you. Put your laps in, be patient, the race will come to you. But instead, you got Hampshire battling, from 7th on up just to try to get to 3rd place. And by the time he gets to 3rd place, he rolls up on Tom Vial in Moto 2, and he's giving it everything he's got. And it's so funny because when you watch that part of the race, Tom Vial looks back, there's Hampshire. Tom Vial looks back, no Hampshire. Tom Vial looks back, there's Hampshire. And it's like this accordion rubber banding effect throughout that entire bit of the moto, where Hampshire was coming and then he was gone. He was coming and then he was gone because he was making mistakes. He would get close, he would get impatient, he'd push a little bit harder, and then he'd make a little bobble, just enough for Tom Vial to pull back out, and somebody we really don't talk about. I don't talk about this guy a lot. I really don't. It's Justin Cooper. I talk about him when he makes big mistakes and he gets injured and stuff like that. But I don't talk about Justin Cooper enough to the point where it's like, he missed a race. He was out. He's been hurt, and he's still in this championship hunt. He's a good rider. He can show up. He can show real speed. I mean, he was closing the gap on Shimoda in Moto 2, and he was pushing, dude. He was pushing Moto 1. He had a great Moto 1. It's hard to think about this, is because Justin Cooper, barring, the crazy incidents, he seems like another inconsistent rider. He seems like he has the speed, he has the capability, but he doesn't show up every weekend. Joe Shimoda doesn't show up every weekend. Levi Kitchen doesn't show up every weekend. Hampshire doesn't show up every weekend, even though they're there every weekend and they're trying to do their thing and they're staying in this top 10, battle going on there. It's kind of like, damn it, if you guys would just keep this thing, chilled out and focused, this would be an intense and super crazy series that we're running in, because Southwick beat the brakes off these boys And some of these boys were still putting in work like it wasn't nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like Hampshire was pushing like it wasn't 20 minutes into this 90-degree humid beat up track day, and he was pushing. And then that's why I say if Hampshire would just get better start and he keep that mentality and he keep that focus, bro, this series would be completely different. We can say that a lot of shoulda, woulda, couldas. Anything's possible. But it's just crazy because, you watch Tom Vial put in that epic show, and then you watch Tom Vial yet again put in a pretty epic show. But Justin Cooper was on the gas Moto 2, man. Hampshire was on the gas Moto 2, man. Well, we really can't talk about, Hunter Lawrence and Hayden as much in Moto 2 because I think at that point, for Hayden and Hunter, it was let's just get through the freaking day, dude. This track is gnarly. This track is rough. It's beating the brakes off my cheeks right now. I'm having to sit down, up jumps. I'm having to sit out of corners and let the braking bumps wake me up. Like it was a gnarly track, and Hunter and Hayden. I don't know. I don't exactly know what Hayden's situation was. I know Hunter, he kind of had some bad luck. He's on the bad side of things in that 250 moto. You know what I'm saying? Hayden, on the other hand, I think Hayden personally, I don't think he knew what the wick was like, and I think the wick whipped him. Yeah, I think the whip, the what? I think the wick whipped him. Okay, and that's why Hayden probably didn't have the most stellar day, but he still walked away with a 4-point lead, which is still a win. He's still got plenty of races to do the rest of this season to kind of either elongate that gap or lose that gap and lose the point series lead. He got the red plate. I'm excited for the kid. Moto 1, Moto 2, we had some really good competitive riding. We had some stellar show outs. I would have liked to have seen, Levi Kitchen up there again. Seth Hammaker really did do some really good work. I have to give a big shout out to him for looking good both motos. Like he started well both motos, and he was kind of showing. And again, I'll revert back to this. Any riders that haven't been riding the entire series, that can come out and still roll top 3, I feel like that's a huge win, and I think that says a lot about that rider's ability and focus on that race day because Hammaker hasn't been here the whole series. Hammaker's been out. There's been a lot of injuries within these riders, this group of riders, where if they come out and they still do well, it's kind of like, wow, what if you would have got hurt and you could have been staying on the bike and focusing and training? Where would you be right now? Either way, the 250 moto, great first and second moto, guys. I mean, Joe Shimoda put in the work. Tom Vial got his overall. Justin Cooper really showed that he could push. RJ Hampshire, the dog, he was on him, man. And it was just a really good showcasing at the Wick. But guys, make sure you click the link up here. We're gonna do part 2 of the 450s. That way you guys can get the download on the 450s at Southwick. It's some more great things. Of course, Jet does his thing, but we'll detail that out in the next one. Go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, and you'll check out the next video popping up very soon about the 450s at Southwick.